Hello and welcome to the programme. The United Kingdom is ratcheting up the pressure on Iran to release jailed Briton Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe by declaring the case to be a formal state-to-state dispute between London and Tehran. Nazanin was arrested 3 years ago at Tehran airport on her way back home from a visit to Iran. Accused of spying, she was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Britain maintains her innocence, and in this latest move to secure her release, Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt says Britain will now exercise diplomatic protection, a rarely used procedure that accuses Iran of failing to meet its obligations under international law.
Iran is one of the oldest civilizations in the world. I know there are many there who understand the unjustness of this situation. No government should use innocent individuals as pawns for diplomatic leverage. So I call on Iran to release this innocent woman.
Well, for the latest on this, I'm joined from London by our correspondent Vincent McAviney, who is outside the Foreign Office. Well, good morning to you, Vinny. Can you explain to us in real terms what difference does it make having diplomatic protection granted?
Good morning, Isabel. Well, this is something that Nazanin's family and supporters have been calling on the British government to do for some time now. And what diplomatic protection means is that this elevates it from an individual's case to one, as you mentioned, which is state to state. And so it's much easier for Britain to raise Nazanin's plight at international forums like the United Nations and also get allies to put further pressure on Iran. Now, the issue here has been that Iran doesn't recognise dual nationality. Nazanin is both a British and Iranian citizen. They have tried to keep it permanently as a domestic issue, but Britain is saying this is not the case. It isn't the same, though, as diplomatic immunity, which means you're exempt from prosecution by a country's law, but it does mean that this brings more attention to Nazanin's plight. Here's what the Foreign Secretary, Jeremy Hunt, had to say.
My decision is an important diplomatic step which signals to Tehran that its behaviour is totally wrong. It's unlikely to be a magic wand that leads to an overnight result, but it demonstrates to the whole world that Nazanin is innocent, and the UK will not stand by when one of its citizens is treated so unjustly.
And Vinny, this decision comes amid growing health concerns for Nazanin. Do we know how she is?
Well, Nazanin has had a very difficult time in Iranian prison, understandably. Now, she actually served her sentence but continued to be detained. And what we know from Nazanin's family is that obviously the conditions for her aren't very good. She's had some health problems related to the kind of cramped confinement that she's been in. She's obviously been under a lot of psychological stress because at times she's been held in solitary captivity. She hasn't been able to see her daughter, who's being cared for by her parents. Her contact, the rules about it change frequently, and they put pressure on her to do things like become a spy for them in order to get her release. Now, the most recent event, though, was that she discovered a lump on her breast, which meant that she wanted to be seen by medical specialists. That access was denied by the prison authorities, and so back in January, Nazanin went on hunger strike for several days until they eventually caved and allowed her to have access to some medical treatment. It's not clear at the moment whether or not that was something serious or not, but it has been a very difficult time for Nazanin, and her friends and family know that the longer that she is detained in captivity there, the more difficult it is going to be. And Jeremy Hunt, by doing this, he's really engaged again with Nazanin's family, and we'll see over the coming days whether or not this has any impact.